Welcome to Hebrew 101. Today you are embarking on one of the greatest investments of your life and of your time that I can't even begin to really express its impact on me and the impact I know it's going to have on your life if you will just be disciplined to do the things that we tell you to do. There's not going to be anything really difficult here. It really truly isn't. And what's going to happen is you're going to begin to explore the Bible in ways that you never thought possible. It's going to open up a whole new realm and dimension to both the study of the Word of God and your understanding of the Word of God. And, you know, it's not emphasized enough, and I think part of the reason it's not emphasized enough is that no one wants to discourage anyone who's just reading the Bible from their native language. In our case, for most of us, it's English. And we want to make sure that everybody feels confident that they are going to get the message from the Bible that they are reading. And we can say that that's true. But once again, when you begin to go right to the source language, suddenly there begins to be a whole new dimension of exploration and understanding that unfolds itself before us. One rabbi said that trying to read the Bible in another language other than Hebrew would be similar to kissing your bride through a veil. And I appreciate that. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you a method that is going to get you to reading the Hebrew Bible very quickly. You may not understand what you're reading, but you'll be able to read and you'll be able to pronounce it. And that's the first step. And especially when we're approaching biblical Hebrew, there's differences between the classic Hebrew that is being spoken and written and read by modern Israelis. But if you learn biblical Hebrew, you're just a step away from being able to take it that next step and speak everyday modern Hebrew. And so some of you are going to be motivated to do that, and maybe some of you are just going to stick with biblical Hebrew. But this is a lifelong journey. We're going to show you how to pronounce words. We're going to take you through drills, and then we're going to get you right into reading the Bible, and we're going to develop our vocabulary from reading. And of course, when you're not in a dialogue, it's that much more important for us to be able to, right off the bat, be able to sound these words out properly. And so we're going to get our pronunciation right. We're going to get our reading skills right up to par, 90 to 95% accuracy by the time we get finished taking you through these various different phonetic exercises. And then you're going to be off and running as we develop this over the next 4 years. We're going to take you through 4 years of studying Hebrew. And I promise you don't have a better thing to do with your time. And when you get into this, you'll understand what I mean. You know, there's two different pronunciations. I want to just highlight this. There's a Sephardic and there's Ashkenazi, which is more of a European development. It's what we would consider. I know those who speak Ashkenazi pronunciation, they'd probably argue with that. We look at Sephardic pronunciation as being more akin to what it was 2,000 years ago. Academically, Hebrew is basically taught in that form of pronunciation, and so that's what we're going to do. There are literally hundreds of study aids and study guides on the internet that you can get. Most of them are going to be Sephardic. There will be some Ashkenazi. You're going to get different pronunciation there. So if you run into that, you go, wait a minute, this pronunciation for the Aleph Bet is a little bit different here. Then you'll understand why. But by and large, most of what you're going to run into, or what you're going to discover, find on online, is going to be very helpful for you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start you off learning the Aleph Bet. Those are the first two words of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph Bet. And traditionally, the Hebrew language did not have vowels. It only had 22 consonants, okay? No vowels, okay? That didn't happen until later on, about the 11th century. Of course, Hebrew language wasn't popularly spoken. The diaspora, or the removal of Israel, the people of Israel from the land of Israel, that took place in 70 AD, resulted in, by and large, the language of the Bible, the Hebrew language, not being spoken. And of course, there was a number of events that had happened before that that also had disruption with the use of the Hebrew language. I'm not going to go into all of that, and where that, it became more of a sacred language that was used specifically in terms of ministering the Bible, learning the Bible. And there's a lot of history there, and I'm being very abstract with it, but I'm just going to leave it there just to say it was like a language frozen in time. Instead of evolving like the Greek language has always been spoken over the many, hundreds of years from the ancients of like Socrates or Homer or whatever. Hebrew language was kind of like, to some degree, frozen in time, and it was as though, by and large, people had forgotten the proper pronunciation of it. And so by the 11th century, vowels were created to help everyone understand how to properly pronounce the consonants, how to pronounce the words. And so what we're going to teach you is we're going to really drill you with, to start with, over the next two lessons, the Aleph Bet, so that you really learn the associated phonetic sound, English equivalent sound that goes along with that. And then we're going to move on into the vowels later. And if you get ahead of me here, or maybe you've had some Hebrew, and you recognize, that there's 14 vowels, and, you think about the hatif patach versus the patach, and the different subtleties that are there. I'm going to make it so much easier, because we're just going to start off with basically 5 categories of vowels. The 5 same basic sounds of A, E, I, O, U that we have in the English language with the sometime Y. We're going to relate it to that. It's going to be relatively simple. And what we're going to do is we're going to take you through this quarter, Hebrew 101, and get you to the point where you can recognize any syllable. The words are made up of syllables, and by and large, Hebrew is made up of 2 to 3, mostly 3 consonants. And so we're not going to worry about vocabulary right now. We're not going to worry about verb forms right now, and understanding the different aspects of Hebrew that, in the masculine singular, the reality that there is no neuter, the way that the past and the present works, and Hebrew is mostly past and future, and the way that the present works within the framework of the linguistic forms that we use in the Hebrew language. We're going to make it really, really simple. Now, what's going to be very, very important for you to do is to have lots of redundancy. We're going to want you to take the things that we're teaching you. For example, we're going to take you through the Aleph Bet today. We're going to also take you through the Aleph Bet next lesson as well. And we're going to really drill into you those phonetic sounds, and we're going to have you both sounding out the Aleph Bet and writing it at the same time. And we think that this is absolutely important for the association to be firmly established. And then what we're going to have you actually do is we're going to actually have you write out the Aleph Bet only using consonants by the next lesson. And that may sound complicated right now, but look, it's going to be fun. But what I need you to do is I need you to spend lots of time with repetition. we're going to break down the Aleph Beit primarily into, 5 letters at a time over the course of today. And what you're going to do after this is you're going to take a pen and a piece of paper, and you're going to, write each letter out 20, 30 times and pronounce it, and you're going to rehearse this over and over and over again. And so you're ready by the next lesson to just spend a little bit more time on breaking out some of the subtleties of the Aleph Beit. And then by the time we get to the third lesson, where we're actually adding in the vowels, you're going to be amazed at how accurate you're going to be able to pronounce these syllables. And then we're going to do drills just of syllables and get you to a point where you can, by and large, recognize the majority of all of these syllables. So, and then when you do, it's not going to be that difficult to go ahead and begin to put those syllables together in the word forms and pronounce the words. So that by the end of this quarter, in November, at the end of this, you are going to be able to start reading it, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. And that's where we're going to end, is reading Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. You may not understand a single word that you say, but you're going to be able to read it properly. I'm going to make the test very easy. And for those of you that are going to be studying from different countries or from states that are far away, or you're just remote from where we're at and can't come to one of our campuses right now, we're going to make sure that the test is easy and for you to take and clearly understandable. And then we're going to also make a way for you to be able to give us feedback where we can listen to you. For example, go through the Aleph Beit and pronounce the Aleph Beit and listen to you pronounce the syllables and be able to give you feedback. And praise God for the modern age and the electronic age, because most of you have computers and you have iPhones, which will allow you to do that, so that you can just basically send me a text and say, okay, here's the Aleph Beit, ready, set, go. Here are the syllables that you gave to us to practice, and I want to make sure that I'm pronouncing them right. Of course, in the classroom, that's going to be a whole lot easier for you to do and to get feedback. Our tests are going to be very simple. By and large, they're going to be open book. And so we want to we want to cause you to have a good learning experience here. And our point is not about a grade. Our point is about, and our goal is about you learning this information. And so if you will really do everything that we are telling you, then we're confident that we give you a test and you're going to score well above a 70%. So because we are certain of that, then you're going to have to exercise the self-discipline to do what we tell you to do. And then what we're going to do is, from an academic perspective, we're going to give you tests just so that we can make sure that you have all of the accurate information there in your notes, that you're able to go back to them and utilize them over and over again. I first took my Hebrew lesson back in the early 80s. I believe my first Hebrew lesson was in 1982. And I have been studying Hebrew ever since. And so what we're going to do is we're not only going to show you how to read and how to write and help you to get into a good degree of accuracy in your pronunciation, but we're also going to show you how to properly study to get at right definitions, because that is a whole nother issue when it comes to the Hebrew language, an ancient language. What does this word, for example, really truly mean? And that's where you're going to just find yourself immersed into the Bible, immersed into biblical studies, into accurate biblical studies, beyond anything that you could do if you were limited to the English language. We've discovered over and over again in our own personal lives that we tend to steer away from things that are not familiar to us. If it's not familiar to us, if it's strange, we're a little bit afraid of it. And so we're going to take that fear away. You're going to recognize the Hebrew language, and then you're going to be motivated to say, I can run this down. And now with all of the various different biblical programs that we have available to us today, that you have online, that you have like Logos, which is I use a whole lot, you not only have access to proper pronunciation of a word, especially the root word, but you have just a huge reference library then to be able to draw out what is the most accurate meaning of these words. What are the choices that it could be? How would I bracket the definition, and getting at definitions through context, so the connotation, and getting at definitions that are denoted, that are defined for us in various different reference books. So get ready. Get your pencils out, get your paper out, because we are getting ready to just dive right into the alphabet, the Aleph Bet. I am going to give you a very brief overview of it right now. Towards the end of this lesson, you're going to start dealing with some uniqueness about the alphabet in terms of there being what's called a regular form and a final form for about 5 of the consonants. We're also going to show you how that there are about 5 of the consonants that also change their sound and their English equivalents in terms of that phonetic sound based upon what we call a Dagesh, or a dot that is found in the consonant. You'll see that. So we're going to start as simple as we possibly can, and then we're going to start adding the various different nuances and unique things that we do with the Hebrew consonant that brings certain changes and subtleties and changes with the consonants. So get ready. This is all about the consonants, the 22 consonants in the Aleph Bet, and let's dig in right now. Ready, set, go. One of the first and most important things to recognize about the Hebrew language and how you write it and how you read it is that, unlike English, it reads from right to left. And so we will start at the Aleph on the right-hand side of the page, and we will read across through to the end of the page where the Kaf is. Now, let's try to pronounce them. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Once again, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Now, this time you repeat after me. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Okay, here it is. Let's write the Aleph. Once again, repetition is the most important thing here. Aleph. Now we're going to deal with the B sound. Bet. Bet. The B sound. Bet. Bet. And now the G sound. G. Gimel. G. Gimel. It's the G sound. G. Gimel. G. Gimel. Now the D sound. D. Dalet. D. Dalet. D. Dalet. The next letter we come to is hey, the H sound. Huh, hey, hey. Now we come to our next set of 5. Vav, Zayin, Chit, Tit, Yud. Once again, Vav, Zayin, Chit, Tit, Yud. Now repeat after me. Vav, Zayin, Chit, Tit, Yud. One more time. Vav, Zayin, Chit, Tit, Yud. Now for the V sound. V, Vav, V, Vav. Write it again. The V sound. V, Vav. Now for the Z sound. Zion, Z, Zion, Z, Zion. And now for a hard H sound. Chit, Chit. It's a hard H. Now we come to the T sound. Tit, Tit, T, Tit. And now the Y sound. Yod, Ya, Yod, Ya, Yod. Now we come to our next set of 5. Kaf, Lamed, Mim, Nun, Samer. Once again. Kaf, Lamed, Mim, Nun, Zamer. Now repeat after me. Kaf, Lamed, Mim, Nun, Zamer. One more time. Ha, Lamed, Mim, Nun, Zamer. The best way to understand this is CH for now. Ha, CH, ha. Later you will learn it's also ha, CH, ha. We are also writing the final form, the form that it always has at the end of a word. And now the L sound, Lamed. It's the L sound, Lamed, Lamed. This is the M sound, Mem, Mem. The M sound, Mem, Mem. We're also showing once again the final form of the Mem as it appears at the end of a word. Now the N sound, Nun. N sound, Nun, N, Nun. The N sound, Nun. Once again, we are showing the final form of the letter as it always appears at the end of the word. Don't be confused by it. Just understand that for now. This is the S sound, Samek, Samek. It's the S sound, Samech. And now our next set of 5. Ayin, Pei, Sade, Kof, Resh. Once again, Ayin, Pei, Sade, Kof, Resh. Now repeat after me. Ayin, Pei, Sade, Kof, resh. Once again, ayin, pe, sade, kof, resh. Ayin. It's going to be silent and only take on the sound of the vowel. Ayin. Ayin. Now this is the P sound for now. It's also the F sound, but for now just the P sound. Pe, 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 the P sound. Once again, we're showing you the final form as it appears at the end of a word. Now this is a TS sound. Ts, sade, ts, sade. It's a TS sound. Ts, sade, sade. And once again, we are showing you the final form as it appears at the end of a word. And now our K sound, which is kof. It's our K sound. It's a K sound in the Hebrew language. Kof. K, k, kof. And now for the R sound. Resh. Resh. Just like Spanish. Resh. R sound. And now for our final three consonants. Sin. Sheen. Tav. Once again. Sin. Sheen. Tav. Repeat after me. Sin. Sheen. Tav. Once again. Sin. Sheen. Tav. Seen. This would be our S word. Seen. The S. Seen. You could think of it as a scene in a play. Seen. The S word. And now SH. Sheen. SH. Sheen. Sheen. And now finally the T sound in Hebrew, tav. It's the T sound, t, tav, tav. Now you've been writing the final form and the regular form for 5 of the consonants in Hebrew. Now these are the only 5 letters in the Hebrew language that will change their form when they appear at the end of a word. So let's go over them. These 5 letters that have a regular form and a final form are the chaf, the mim, nun, pe, and sade. These are the only 5 consonants that you will find in the Hebrew language that change their form only at the end of a word. So for review, let's go ahead now and write these 5 consonants again in their regular form and also in their final form. This is the regular form, and this is the final form. Now for the mim. This is the regular form, and then there's the final form. Now let's do the nun, the N sound. The regular form, and then the final form. And now let's do the pe. Regular form, and final form. And now the sade, regular form, and the final form. Now I want to introduce to you what we call the Dagesh. It is a dot in the center of the letter. This only occurs in 3 of the Hebrew consonants, what you've learned already as the Beit, the Kof, and the Pei. Well, when there is a Dagesh in the center of the Beit, it is pronounced ba, Beit. But when there is no Dagesh, when it's absent of the dot, then it is pronounced Veit. And the sound is va, Veit, va. Next is the Kof. With the Dagesh or the dot, it's just a K sound, K, Kof. But when it is absent of the dot or the Dagesh, it's the hardest sound in the Hebrew language, a very deep ha, ha, ha sound. And then finally the Pei. With the Dagesh or the dot, it's just a P, P. Without the Dagesh, it's an F sound, P. So for review, let's just go ahead and write out these 3 consonants again. Without the Dagesh or the dot, it's just a V sound, Veit. Now, when you put the dot or the Dagesh in it, then it's the Beit, B sound, Beit, Beit. Now let's do it for the Kof. Once again now, when you write it out with the Dagesh or with the dot in it, then it's going to be just a K sound. When it is without the dot, then it's the strong ch, ch, like a CH, but ch, a little bit harder. And now, finally, the Pei. When the Dagesh or the dot is there, it's Pei with the P sound, P. When the Dagesh is not there or the dot is not there, then it's going to be the F sound. And so let's just draw it out one more time and look at it with and without the Dagesh. Perhaps now you've discovered that some of these consonants sound very close to one another and actually have the equivalent English letter that would represent them. And so let's just review them. Let's go over them a little bit. The Veit, which is the Beit without the dot, sounds like the Vav. It's got an equivalent V sound in the English language. The Kof without the dot in the middle, or the Dagesh, sounds pretty much similar to the Chet, the hard H sound. The T sound is produced both by the Tet and the Tav. The K sound is produced both by the Kof with the Dagesh or dot in it and the Kof. Then the S sound is produced both by the Sin and the Samek. So let's review these by writing them out, beginning with the Veit. It's the Beit without the dot in the middle of it, and it has the V sound, Veit. And then you have the Vav. It has the V sound, just like the Veit. Then after that, we have 2 letters that are very difficult to distinguish, producing what is basically the CH sound, which is the Kaf and the Chet. Chet, Chet, which is a CH, pretty much. And then also the, as I said, the Kaf without the Dagesh. Ha, ha, ha. And then finally, the Sin and the Samek producing an S sound. The Samek producing an S sound. Just watch it written one more time. And then the Scene, as in scene in a movie. And it produces the S sound. Scene. Well, I hope that wasn't too overwhelming for you. You have the handouts. This is in a YouTube format. You can go through it again and again and again, depending on how much time you want to put in. Look, this is foundational stuff. If you get this right, you're going to, well, first of all, you're going to build on this for the rest of your life because you're never going to stop utilizing the Hebrew language. And some of you are going to get so good that you're going to start teaching this class in years to come because, you know, we just really truly believe that the Lord is going to use us and utilize the skills that we're willing to allow to be developed in our life to have an extraordinary University of Biblical Studies in the future. And so this is your foundation. I know you have a lot of other things going on. Welcome to the club. But this is worth it. This is just like, as it were, studying Scripture right now, because it's getting you ready to now study Scripture like never before. You're going to have to really, truly slow down. I mean, some of us read the Bible way too fast. It's kind of like we're going after quantity rather than quality. And so spend the time getting the foundation. Get that pencil and piece of paper out and really start writing it all out. Just write out the Aleph Beit, okay? And then after you do that and write out all of the forms of the Aleph Beit, you can go on to on Google, for example, and if you write in your search engine Aleph Beit or Hebrew letters or anything like that, and then click on images, you're going to see so many charts. It's going to just, you know, it's going to be a great resource for you. And maybe if you were confused at all about anything that we presented to you, it will help you deal with any confusion. But more important than anything else is take these 22 consonants and go and sit down with them and write it out and say, start off, go, Aleph, write it, Aleph, write it, Aleph. There are many, and say it each time you write it. And once again, there are many different YouTubes available that are especially YouTube cartoons and teaching YouTubes that will actually show you the best way to do the character. And right now we're doing script form, and so stick with the script form. Don't go into cursive. Stick with the script blocked form. And but more important than any of these other additional things is just write it out. Say bait and write it. Bait, write it. Bait, write it. Bait. Do it again and again and again. Then and now you're putting the dot in the middle of it. You know, bait each time. Bait. And of course, I didn't do that because I had some challenges with this multimedia presentation of actually putting a dot in the consonants. So just write it out. Bait. Put your dot in it. Bait. Put your dot in it. Bait. Put your dot in it. Then do the veit and write it out the same bait form, but don't put a dot in there. So bait and then veit and write it. Veit. Do it 20, 30 times. Do Aleph Beit, Gimel Dalet He Vav. Or no, forgive me. Do Aleph Beit, Gimel Dalet He. Okay? Say it over and over and again. You can do a little rhyme. Aleph Beit, Gimel Dalet He. Okay, stop and make sure that you don't have to look at the paper and pronounce it. Aleph Beit, Gimel Dalet He. Then move on to the next set of 5, and then the next set of 5, and then the next set. And ultimately you'll have 22. And the last, I think, is, you know, just would be the Shin, Tav. And, you know, there are various different songs out there that they have for the Aleph Bet, and that's fine if you want to do that. Every additional aid is good, but the repetition of you writing it and saying it over and again. Do 5. Hide the piece of paper from yourself and go ahead and say it from memory. Then do 5 more. Okay, hide the paper from yourself. Excuse me. Say those 5, and then with your study aid removed out of your sight, go ahead and do all 10, and watch what's going to happen. You're going to get very fluent with this. It's not going to take that much time. In fact, if you will do what I just said, you'll be able to do this in an hour. You'll be able to memorize in an hour. Once again, do 5 of them. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Don't go Aleph, Bet, Vet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Just utilize the 22 consonants with the primary sound. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod. Start back at the beginning and then continue on Ha, Lamed, Mim, Nun. And you are going to have this down in no time. So I am so excited about this adventure with you. I know it's a little bit daunting right now because you're having to read from right to left instead of left to right. These are brand new characters. Oh my goodness. But honestly, just dig in there. It's going to become familiar. Every day after today, just sit down for 5-10 minutes and write it out. Just write out the whole Aleph Bet. If you want to go ahead and write out all of the various unique forms, both the final form as well as the regular form on 5 of the consonants, fine. If you want to also include the Dagesh for the 5 consonants that utilize the Dagesh, do that. It's not essential right now. Right now, all that is essential, 22 consonants, be able to pronounce them. And remember this. I want you to understand this. Maybe I didn't actually even tell you. When you say the word, usually, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, the word, the way that you're saying it, although Aleph is silent along with the ayin, which we will emphasize later, it takes on the whatever vowel sound is there, and by and large, there's some things we could say historical. I don't want to get into that right now. But when you go to the Bet, it's going to be ba, Bet. It's going to be ga, Gimel. It's going to be da, Dalet. So you understand the transliteration and the actual phonetic sound that letter, that consonant is creating simply by the sound of the first syllable, the first letter that you are pronouncing. So have fun, and we'll see you next time.